Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. Today I'm going to show you how to mount a shutoff box on a post frame building. I've gathered together a few things that I think I'm going to need, but one of the first things you need to do is find out where the girts are, exactly where the girts are, and let me show you how to do that real quick. In our case, you can see the top of the grade beam, so all I have to do is measure from the top of the grade beam to either the top or the bottom of this outside girt here. And then the grade beam in this case is 2 by 8, so we'll add 7 1/4 inches to it. I've already done that, and I put a little bit of tape where this box is going to go. So, well, let me show you that real quick as well. Will you look at that? I got this installed this morning, and now I need to install the shutoff box. And believe it or not, it's a lot harder than you think. Okay, so here is the bottom of the grade beam. So I got to measure up to the bottom of that girt, which is right here. This is incorrect. I was thinking for some reason that there was a 2 by 8 in there, and it's not, but doesn't matter. We just need the bottom of it. So now on our shutoff box, we want that to be centered between these two big ribs here. So we have this amount of space right here where we can hit into a girt to mount that. We could mount it right to the metal, but this metal is not that strong. Probably the worst way to mount it would be completely with self-tapping metal screws, self-tapping sheet metal screws. The second best way would probably be to mount it with rivets, maybe 3 rivets. And the best way we can do it in this case is to put one big heavy screw into the girt there. So we're going to pre-drill. If we can, we got to measure on the box and see where the mounting holes are. We can make our own mounting holes though. And then with that one big screw holding it really nice against the building, I can either put sheet metal screws or pop rivets and put another couple down here. It'll probably be tight up against this chair rail, so it's not going to spin, but I don't want it moving around. So let's see what we have on the box as far as mounting goes. And once we got that all figured out, we're going to put it in place and then figure out where we're going to drill through to the inside. That can also be a problem. We got to find out if there's anything in the way in there, or if we can drill straight through to the plywood wall on the other side. All right, let's go look at that box. I forgot to mention that we have 1 3/4 inches to that tape. Okay, and we want to go at 1 3/16 inches, so that's going to work out perfect. So we're going to put this flush against the top, or flush against the bottom side of that rail, and I measured for other holes as well, and it turns out these 2 holes go right over the smaller ribs on the metal, which would be a better choice. But if I use these, yeah, these would actually be better because, I don't know. Yeah, I think I'll just use these. What I'll do is drill them out for I have a bunch. Here we go. We'll use these right here. Well, one or the other. We'll use sheet metal screws, and then if that's not working as good as I'd like it to, I could take those out, drill it a little bit bigger, and put some stainless steel pop rivets in there, which I don't have right now. That's why we're going to use the self-tapping. So this is going to go tight up against that chair rail, and I'm going to put it in place and mark where this goes and put a little dot there, and then I'm going to drill through, and I believe, yeah, the box is going to be screwed at like right here, so we're going to come through right about there. So I'm going to drill through, and about 1.5 inches in, we're going to run into fiberglass. So you got to kind of push the fiberglass out of the way. You don't want to drill through it, otherwise it's going to wrap around the drill bit. Push the fiberglass out of the way until I get to the inside wall here, and then continue drilling through. Once I have this drilled all the way through, all that's going to do is give me a location on the inside and the outside. The outside is going to be enlarged until this passes through with a step bit, and the inside is going to be enlarged. Where is that? It's going to be enlarged for a Romex clamp, a fairly good size hole. And when I put this all together, I'll do some foam in the hole. I'll pass the Romex clamp into the hole with Romex already affixed to it and going to the outside. I'll pass it partway into the hole, foam that up, and then screw the box that it's attached to tight to the wall, and then the foam will expand into the wall, but it'll seal everything up really nice. And we're going to be sealing up the outside as well with this White Lightning all-weather construction sealant. Okay, so first thing we got to do is go out there, and we'll take this punch and punch a place for the hole for here, and then I'll draw that out where this one goes, and we'll start drilling some holes. Okay, so I'm just going to eyeball this, get my center, and it's just going to go tight up against here, whether that's level or not. Get my punch tight. And then hopefully I can see this. Yeah, just barely. And there's nothing behind here. This is just metal, so got to go easy with the punch. Okay, I'll start with a small bit. You can see I already grabbed some of that insulation. It must have expanded up against the wall. All right, so we're gonna get the proper size bit for this, and then we're gonna drill this with that real long bit. Like I said, we're gonna fish it all the way through and then just drill that last bit through the other side. But it's gonna be kind of difficult with all that insulation in there. Okay, that is our big screw for here, and this same long bit should work pretty good as a clearance hole through the metal. You just want to have a hole through the metal that's as big as the threads, and then we're not putting any countersink into the wood behind it. Once we have that clearance hole, we're just gonna drive this home. But before we do any of that, I wanted to see what... Okay, I just wanted to see if I use these holes, if they're going to be pretty much right on the metal, and they will be. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to install this and leave it like it is, and then come back tomorrow when I have the proper rivets, and I'll drill these out for rivets. Yeah, I may do all three of them. Okay, but for right now, I have to get that bit all the way through, this bit, and then we're going to enlarge that hole to fit this plastic. This is going to be connected to the back of the box, and then I'm going to seal the outside. We're under an overhang here, and the building's overhang, so like when you get a good rain, it's going to hit the top of the chair rail. Some water will get behind there, and we're going to seal that up, but very little water would ever get back there. But again, we're going to make sure that nothing gets in the building. All right, now I just got to fish this through. I can feel the insulation, and we want to all right, I'm hitting the wall on the other side. All right, let's go look at that on the inside. All right, there it is. I can pull that back out and enlarge the hole out there, but let me show you a little bit of what's going on in here. When I continue my electrical run, we're going to have conduit going over to right here, and we're going to have another box. So this is where I figured it would come in, and it's awful darn close. You can see it's at a little bit of an angle, but that's not going to matter at all. It's going to have a box on the wall right here with a knockout on the back with Romex going to the outside. But anyways, the run that goes here, this will be conduit right here. I can either put a pull L here, one that goes straight through and tees off, and then run conduit down. This is the actual box that's going to go there. That's all it's going to need. Go down to the box, or I can come down from the box and curve over and go to it. Not exactly sure which way I'm going to do it yet, but I'm leaning towards the pull elbow. So this is what we have as far as insulation. It goes from the front of the posts, just like this, and it should be 1.5 inches away from this outside wall, but it's expanded beyond that, which is a good thing. It's going to be more insulation. So that's why as soon as I poked through, it was hitting insulation like that. You could see that where this goes by a girt, there's 1.5 inches of clear space there. Okay. And that insulation is held up by these insul hold strips right here. I'll put a link to these in the description below in case you're in that phase of your build right now. Okay, let's head back out there and get that hole drilled. Okay, get rid of that tape. And get this pre-drilled right away. All right, just through the metal. And then this, we're just going to test it until this fits through it. All right, beautiful. Probably seems like overkill, but better safe than sorry, and easy enough to do. These boxes will leak a little bit regardless of what you do. I just don't want it leaking and dripping into the wall. And there you have it. Water will get into these boxes. They're not watertight, but any water that does get into them will flow out through the holes in the corner, these holes. It'll get out somewhere. I just don't want any water getting through where I made holes in the building and getting into the building. So we're going to put some sealant around this hole and all 3 of these. Even though these aren't going in now, when I do drill them out and put the rivets in there, they'll be sealed. Yeah, we're not going to do that center hole. Like I said, this can't turn anyways. All these bottom 2 holes are going to do is hold this nice and tight, this lower part. Otherwise, with just one screw way the heck up here, it would be too easy to apply torque to it and pull it off of the building. And that would have to be just somebody screwing around like a kid. But things should be kid-proof. Okay, now get our big screw ready and screw this to the building. Beautiful. All right, it's wanting to bounce away from the wall, and I should probably have it tight against the wall. Maybe I will throw them sheet metal screws in there, and like I said, I can remove those and replace them with rivets at a later date if I want to. Okay, we have a screw going right into a girt on the other side of this wainscoting, and that is strong as hell, but it's still going to want to tip and stuff like that, so these 2 screws are needed. And again, I'm going to take those out and put some pop rivets in there because pop rivets are a little better solution. And then we're sealed around this, around both of these, and you can see it goobering in right there. So it's completely sealed from the building, but like I said, any water that gets in here is going to go out through these bottom holes. So it's watertight to the building. When we hook up, we're going to go from this plug right here. We're going to have a loop going up to this knockout right here, and we're going to have some waterproof flex conduit, and that will be it. Now let's go on the inside and drill out that hole, and we might as well push the wire through right away, and then after I run to the store we'll finish all the setup. A 1 1/8 inch hole would probably work. The distance between the two edges right here is 1 1/8, but we're going to go 1 1/4 inch. So we have just a bit of clearance, and we're going to go through this plywood here.